right, we're rolling. Welcome to episode number 2 of Build Time. We are going to go over a very cool feature that Nara put together, and it is titled Search and Filter Products Using React Hooks and a Headless CMS. All right, so let's dive into this. So basically, this article references a marketplace app that Nara built that is powered by Cosmic, and I'll show you what the demo looks like. So it features, I'll go to the homepage here. It features basically this like NFT marketplace style design where you have digital art that you can purchase as well as you can put up for sale. It's got a nice dark mode. And one of the cool features about this, which is a pretty common one for a lot of e-commerce apps, is a search and filter type of feature where you can basically add some input to search keywords or search by categories or certain attributes, price range, and it can filter the results, right? So this is a really cool thing that Nara did to kind of showcase the Cosmic query capabilities. And I'll kind of show you a little bit what this looks like in the dashboard, because I think it's important to understand how this data is being populated in Cosmic and how it's being filtered on this front end. So let's go into the actual marketplace itself. So just to kind of give you guys, let me go back here and get back to that one page. Should have opened in a new tab. Okay, so the first step here on this article, it'll kind of tell you you can install this demo content to a new bucket on your account if you want to, or you can just kind of use that demo link as a reference. But the steps are laid out here: how to create your Cosmic account, and then you go to the NFT marketplace template page, and you can click select template. And what that'll do is it will install all of that demo content with the product data into a new project on your account. And I've already done that, so you can kind of see what that looks like after it's all installed. We have, basically just telling us, you've installed this template, you can actually view a demo. We've got access to the code base. So like, here's the full code base, and it's a lot of stuff, right? So for this video, we're just going to kind of focus on that one feature with the search and filtering. But you can kind of get all of this downloaded locally. There's steps to go ahead and install it to your machine, adding your environment variables that you have in your Cosmic account, and then you can run it, even deploy it to Vercel in really just a couple of clicks. So it's a pretty end-to-end completed application that you can run locally, deploy it, and see how this works together. So on the Cosmic end of things, you'll notice after you've installed it, you'll see like these object types that have been populated into your project bucket. And for our feature that we're building today, we're mainly looking at products. And something to keep in mind, with the object modeling here is that it's very flexible when it comes to what types of modeling you can do. So for this application, we've got categories, we've got products, we've got reviews, landing pages, navigation, right? So you can have a lot of different types of modeling. For our product modeling, let's take a look at what that looks like in the dashboard. So you can create this specific model that will be applied to multiple objects, meaning multiple products. If you just had maybe a single like homepage or about or contact us page that really doesn't have like different models or different pages or objects that share the same model, you maybe want to have a singleton for that. But for us, we definitely want to have multiple products, and so that's why we selected multiple there. All right, skipping over all these other options, you can kind of see when you get down into the content model, this is kind of where we're going to be focusing on our search and filtering capabilities. So you'll notice we have an image meta field, we have a description meta field, we have price, which is a number meta field, count, which is also a number, color, which is text, and then categories, right? So as you can see, some of these are default. I think Nara, you put in some default prices and counts
Yeah,
here, which makes sense for a count, right? You
maybe
just have one. So, but this is,
change.
yeah. So anytime you create a new product, it'll have kind of this lorem ipsum stuff. If you wanted to have a default image, you could do that. But really, this is kind of the skeletons, so to speak, for all of those new products that you create. You can also add localization to those if you wanted to have different locales set on those products. But for our feature that we're building, we're mainly focusing on price, color, and categories, right? So let's take a look at one of these and see what that looks like when it's already populated. So looking at this first one, you'll notice that we have a price of 150, count 5. We won't be focusing on that one so much. Color, red, and then our image, and then categories. And what this categories does is it actually connects to different objects within your bucket. And you can actually set this. It looks like maybe this isn't set to a specific object type, but we can go ahead and do that. Make sure that this is connected to the categories object type. Oh, it is. Interesting. So let's see, make sure that that's working properly.
You can reuse your structure in this way. I mean, connect one object with another and reuse logical part with the shared objects. It's easy and so
Yeah,
efficient way.
it looks like there may be an issue here. We can maybe edit this out in post if we wanted to, but you know, we're all learning in public here. So I think that maybe there's some sort of issue with it pulling the proper categories, but ideally it would just show your categories, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Really, that's the only options you should have there. But I'll look into that, see what the issue is. But yeah, that's kind of how we're setting up these filtering capabilities, is by price, color, and categories. All right, so let's look at the actual front end here to see, you know, what's going on. So to kind of connect this, here's price, here's color, here's categories, and on our search page, we can search by keyword. And actually, this is connected to the title here, right? So if I search by open portals, it should filter all of this down by keyword. Oh, but it is actually defaulting to these categories, right? So we got to keep in mind with that. So if I go to special offer, now it's on open portals. Cosmos does not have any open keyword. So that's something to keep in mind, is that this is already default set, right? And then if I wanted to maybe remove the keyword, now I can search by color. So what would that do? That would query the actual color, right? So if I'm looking for red, I'll find the red. And then also for price range, if I reset that, if I'm looking at these prices, 155, 787, 779, let's say I wanted to have a min price of 500 and then a max price of 750. All right, so now I found the one that I want in the special offer category, right? So this can be a little bit complicated with you know, the way that the code is put together. Sometimes you have to make a trade-off of like maybe getting all of the API results and then filtering client side, but that's not ideal because you're actually using a lot more resources than you really should be using. But with Cosmic queries, actually, we can be very laser focused on exactly what that query is. So this is actually the only result that's coming through the API. So that's really nice. So that you can conserve your API requests as well as like the payload that's coming down the pipeline, right? So how does that work exactly? So let's take a look at this from the query perspective. So if I go to docs, cosmicjs.com, you can find this linked. We'll have all of these links in the show notes. But a good place to kind of start here is looking at like these examples. I would say if you want to take a quick tour of basic queries, this is a way that you can kind of see like, okay, you can query by posts, right? Typical example would be querying by blog posts, right? And so you'll see a lot of nice code examples to get you started. So check this out. These are all like copy and pastable. So all of these are working examples. You can also kind of figure out how this would work connected to your own projects as well. Just swap out your bucket slug and your read key with these example values, or rather swap out the example values with your bucket read and write keys. And then and then just kind of setting like all of these different properties set up with your specific bucket. So you can do that as well. And then the next steps after you kind of get an idea of the basic queries, I would say going into advanced queries. This is kind of what we're going to be focusing on for our feature, because it really does combine a lot of these meta field, metadata type of values, and it creates that laser focused query capability. So if we look at this query type products, very similar to what we're looking at, we're querying the products object type. We're looking at the metadata value. In the case for this example, it's category, and it's looking for electronics, right? And then we have actually limited the properties of what we want returned, and then you'll just get the slug, title, metadata, category. Can you guys see this okay? Do I need to make it any bigger?
No, I think it looks good.
It's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, as we kind of get into code stuff, it's always nice to get a little bit
Sure.
bigger.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of these examples kind of use that e-commerce type of search and filter approach, which is relevant for what we're going over with this example feature. And as you kind of get into these and you maybe copy paste some of them, then it might be a good idea to go into the API reference and look at, we have a dedicated queries section to document exactly what's capable within the system. So here are the object attributes that you can query by. So ID, title, slug, content, etc. One of the most important ones, especially for what we're doing, is this metadata key, right? So this is kind of how you go and you query by metadata and this specific key right here, which would be color or price or categories. So let's look at the code and see how that's being put together. So as we kind of go down this article, which will have this link in the show notes, this will show you how these queries are being constructed. So Nara did a really good job as far as just making this to where all of the state is saved. So we have like, as you kind of search by text, that remains there. And then you have all of these other, so we're not having to like reset any of this. It's all very intuitive as far as like concatenating, that's the word, it's kind of a big word, concatenation of the query. But it all kind of gets composed, right? That's another word for it, is you're kind of composing your query. And this is sort of doing it on the fly. And the way that that looks is that as we kind of start to compose the query, we have different types of, can you guys see it? This okay? We have different types of metadata that we're combining together to form that query. So metadata.price, this is querying by greater than or equal to, right? This min max, this is less than or equal to, that's the max. And that's going to be sent to the API, right? And the query variable. And if we do have a color, then it's going to deconstruct, correct me if I'm wrong, destructuring of that original variable and then adding to it the metadata dot color value. Same thing with categories, right? We're adding the category, and this is just one category which uses the category ID. So if we go to our dashboard, the category ID is what this will be referencing, not the slug. This is something I think to keep in mind, is that it will be this object ID, right? Just to make sure if we wanted to call this, rename this or the slug changes.
I have a question. So what's the importance of that, using the object ID as opposed to the slug? Because I was kind of thinking that, in some use cases where, with blogs we're getting the slug, but with the object ID, does it have to do with the fact that the object needs to be more explicit, or?
Well, it's the fact that the way that we have Cosmic structured with objects and slugs is that, yes, slugs are unique, but they are not unique if you're using localization. So that's an important quality to understand, is that, let's say we have a different, let's say we're querying all French products. You wouldn't want to query the English category, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind, is that, yeah, categories are something to where, yeah, you want to make sure it's the ID, or rather the technical setup for it is actually an object type, an object relationship meta field.
Okay.
So this is if you were to look at this meta field list, these single object and these multiple object relationships, that's where, you know, it will be an ID that will be referencing it. And it's also important to understand, like, you know, you can always change the slug, right? So for any object, I can change the slug, but the ID will remain constant. So it's just another way to ensure that it's always going to be the object reference you want, with any sort of other editorial changes you want to make. Yeah, good question though. Very good.
Cool. And that seems to kind of tie into the same reasoning of using the multi-object relationship with the categories. Is that kind of the mindset, is to keep a controlled environment where if you change one of the categories, for example, it'll update automatically, as opposed to kind of just loosely coding in a category, a string or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Got
so you
it,
want
got
more
it.
control over these category titles. Yeah, exactly. So that's why you would make this a reference versus like a string search or something. Yeah, good point.
Yep.
And to kind of tie this all up, like sorry, Nora, did you have another point?
No, and also, I mean, for e-commerce and other stuff, you can add new category like a sale, summer sale, or stuff like that, and you can just need to choose your products and connect with that category. And it's
Absolutely.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end of this, so after we add our search keyword, then we combine everything, right? So now we have our query with all of these metadata values that we're searching by: price, color, categories, and then also the title search. And this is something that's interesting, is that we have a regular expression that you can also use for your query. As far as like selectors, we already looked at greater than equal to, less than equal to. We have evaluation, which is nice for search, right? You have a regular expression. If you want to search by uppercase or lowercase, then you have the option to use insensitive, case insensitive matches.
Yeah.
And then you can also look at logic operators with and, not, or, nor. And yeah, that covers it for constructing the query. And then we have the type, and then we have the properties that we want to return, right? So if I were to console log, we'll see what we got here. All right, so now I'm returning the objects, and you'll see like what each object is returning. So notice it's title, slug, created at, and metadata, and that just gives us everything from the metadata, which it looks like we're kind of using everything, right? Where you got categories, color, count, description. We might actually be able to trim this down and just say, you know what, we don't need all that. Let's just have like metadata.color. But as you can see, it will break some things if we don't have everything. So, but that's the point, is that if you did want to kind of limit it as much as possible, you could limit it by, you know, just colors there, right? So that's the nice thing about the API, is not only are you doing like really laser focused queries, but also it's kind of laser focused properties that you're returning as well, just to kind of optimize everything.
And not overloading your response, which increase your user waiting time and user experience as well.
Exactly. And Cosmic, you know, we're a cloud service, and we have cloud costs when it comes to requests and bandwidth, and optimizing your payload will also help you optimize your costs. So it's always a good thing to be as laser and pinpointed as you can with your queries and your props that you include in your response. All right, so that pretty much concludes my portion of what I wanted to present. As you go through the article, you'll see that basically what I said here is noted within the article. We have just a, you know, it's pseudocode example of what that kind of looks like, where you have query type products, metadata price, metadata color, and that's kind of how you compose your query. And then you send it to the Cosmic NPM module here. using the getObjects method. So you'll have your params, which includes the query, as well as the props. And that's pretty much it. Now I'll hand it over to Nara, and she'll talk about the hooks portion of this, using React, state management, and all that good stuff. So Nara, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, let me present my screen. I mean, thank you, Tony, for presenting the Cosmic parts. Let me continue and present how we create our best user experience using debounce. It's hooks the function which provide functional components, have access with the state. We can create custom hooks which we create using debounce. What is it? I mean, when users search something like a girl or stuff like that, it's important to not overthinking that send something or just click into it. I mean, just do request and present him the qualifying information as fast as we can, but not overthinking the request part. The bounce take us opportunity not do request as time the user type something, or take a time like a 500 milliseconds before when users stop searching. We do request only that time. It's easy and presentable way to provide your user search accessibility. How we construct the bounce part is just hooks. We use use effects and use state hooks. Both of them main hooks. Okay, sorry. We just do the set timeout for when value for typing is changed. We just clean up timeout part and wait until the user finish up typing something. When he finish up, we do request part and get correctly filtered data that we need to show up our users. It's easy and fast way presenting search and filter part in our application. We just use the bounce in our application, connecting with search, min, max, and have time how much we need to wait until users stop to typing. And it is it.
So on the note of use the bounce, it seems like is it a big performance increase, because it's as if you don't want to make an API request on every single keystroke, and is that what we're doing? Is we're essentially limiting that resource so that we're not making that request every time. The user literally could type 70 keys, and is that kind of the okay?
It is a way. I mean, you not overthinking your requests.
Got it.
You just wait until he finish up, and then you do your request.
It minimizes the overfetching, is what really a good debounce on a search input field does. Instead of on every keystroke, it clears the request on every keystroke and just waits that 500 milliseconds to send the full text string. So it's kind of anticipating user intent. So maybe there could be issues where they start typing 3 letters, but the word isn't completed yet, and then it fetches, but then they have 3 more they want to do. But that's a lot better than sending 6 total requests, right?
Got it.
So it's not a perfect solution in any way, but it is definitely more optimized, and it definitely makes sense when you just wait for the user to complete their input into that field. So that's done on the keyword search, on the min and max input fields as well, right? So it's not necessary for the selecting of the dropdown or those tabs for the categories, but on user input, it's a great way to not only make for a better user experience, but also, like I mentioned earlier about the optimizing of your API requests, it limits or optimizes rather the number of API requests that you have to make to Cosmic.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what when I thought of it as tying back into what you said earlier, um, making all those requests to the API is it's resourceful, right? It's expensive, and I think Cosmic users definitely want to find, ways to minimize that. And sometimes like this might be a fairly, minimal way as far as the amount of code, but it seems to do a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the modern application required feature that we provide as much qualified as you can use. Try your project, give us feedback, what we can improve or do it better. It's always
We're all
good
learning
to
here.
have a good,
Absolutely.
And we're all trying
Absolutely.
our best to make this as good of an experience as possible. And I think this is a great showcase of a lot of these different types of features on this NFT marketplace app. And this one was a fun one to highlight, and we spent a lot of time on it. But it does show what you can do with Cosmic queries, which is quite a bit as far as optimizing the API to create a feature like this, which it's fairly common in a lot of e-commerce apps, as well as maybe website search. So yeah, we'll have all these links in the show notes that everybody can check out. Is there anything else that you wanted to go over with this, Nara?
I mean, we in our original template part also adding all search queries into your URL part, that you can be sure your user they don't miss the searching, or they can save the product category, what they like, and
that's a good point, because this app that we built is like a React app that is, it's sort of pulling this feature out. But Nara did a really good job as far as if you look at the URL, it changes out every time you make new selections, so you can share that with friends and say, hey, check out this this list of digital art that's under $1,000. So absolutely, there's a lot you can do to optimize this, but I think we just kind of focused in on this specific use case for creating the query and displaying the data that you want. It does take it a step further on the full application that you can check out. I think it's a really cool feature, and and I think it's well put together, and I'm excited to get more people to check it out and and use it.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out too, like this is such a great use case, and like it's well built, and it's a common use case as well, So like while it's a great use case for users of Cosmic, it's also just a very universal use case, as if someone could go in and install that app template and just get going with some boilerplate, a whole template ready, and switch things out as they need, and kind of just make their own marketplace. So
we've actually had a customer reach out the other day that asked about that said, this is a great template. Do you have one for video? And so what you can do there is you can take this template off the shelf, and just instead of those digital art products, you can actually just have it be an MP4 video or something like that, right?
Awesome.
So definitely, you can take this, reskin it, or create your own type of marketplace. It's already connected to Stripe. It's ready for your e-commerce store deployment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think this is really what we're going for too, because like, while we're trying to teach about Cosmic with these templates, like, we really do try to keep in mind that they're production level templates that anyone could go in and just get as much use as possible. So, whether you want to learn Cosmic or not, you can always come in and just mess around with a really nice clean UI and just learn a bit and use it for whatever you need it for. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. You guys got anything else? I think we can.
I have one more quick thing. I have one more quick thing, Tony. And this was something you were covering in the first half. Is you're talking a lot about basic queries, and I just kind of got to thinking, where would you typically send new Cosmic users who are really, maybe they're React developers, or, they're getting really familiar with JavaScript and making API requests and building queries? Would you send them to like the basic queries part of the documentation? Is that a good way to get going with getting all that data out of their buckets.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say
Yeah.
if you're new to Cosmic, it would be a great start because it's very much a copy and paste type of step-by-step tutorial. And then if you want to go a step further, then I think the API reference for queries is a good place to kind of expand on that. Again, the advanced queries are also copy and pasteable. So if you wanted to get, some of the advanced metadata value type of querying under your fingers, then that would probably be a good place to go as well. But yeah, as far as like, the general querying stuff, installing the NPM module, I think is probably the first step in just kind of figuring out like what we offer with that package. That's a great starting point as well.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys.
That's all I got.
I think
Yeah,
that's a
cool.
wrap. All right. Thank you so
Well
much.
done.
We'll have show
Thank
notes
you.
available, and see you guys later.
Use it. Take feedback.
All right.
I mean.
Peace.